My name is James Hoffmann, World Barista Champion 2007, and you're watching SCHMICKTV. I'm from Square Mile Coffee Roasters in London. I was a co-founder there. I'm also the author of the World Atlas of Coffee, and I've been working in coffee for about 15 years now. I started in coffee a little bit by mistake. It was kind of an accident. Like many people, I didn't plan to work in coffee. I got a job working in a big department store, demonstrating the little small domestic espresso machines. And I didn't like coffee, I wasn't very interested in it, but I needed a job. And then I read a book, and it was a book called The Devil's Cup. It was kind of a travel book about coffee, and I realized that coffee was actually huge and interesting and kind of this crazy part of almost every culture on earth. And I think I just wanted to know more. And so that sparked my interest. And then I taught myself to enjoy the taste of coffee. And then I started to learn more and more. And that was kind of the beginning of me descending into an obsession with coffee. I think I got a little bit obsessive quite early on with just kind of learning everything I could. You know, like the internet connected me to a ton of history, a ton of just information. But it also connected me to a lot of other people as well, and that was really important. But I think in the beginning, I was a little naive, and I just wanted to learn, and I was almost collecting information. I wasn't learning, I was just sort of hoarding information in my brain. And it was only really when I started to taste a lot more, which came later, that I got to go to green coffee, like raw importing companies, and taste coffees from different places with people who tasted professionally. That's when my learning really began to grow, you know, and I got really interested in coffee. Winning the World Barista Championship had a strange impact on my life. It seems weird, but that really was the moment at which my learning kind of exploded, and I learned to learn a lot quicker because doors opened. You know, people wanted to talk to me or were interested to talk to me, and that gave me access to a lot of different people. So it was funny for me because at the time, after winning, everyone wanted me to go and teach and go and train and tell, but at that time, actually, that's when I was starting to really learn and begin to sort of see coffee differently. At no point did anyone in London ever really care that I was a World Barista Champion. You know, like that gave me no status. People thought it was kind of strange because we had no barista culture back then. If I'd won a competition for making like sandwiches or food, people would be very impressed. But coffee, nobody cared. And that's probably a good thing. And now, I look at the competition and I look at competitors and I have so much respect. It's gotten so intense, so competitive. And it feels almost like a whole other thing that it used to feel back when I was competing. But I'm proud of what I do, but it's been a real pleasure that I travel now, and it's part of what I talk about, but I also get to talk about a lot of other stuff. So the very beginning of the whole project of the World Atlas of Coffee happened all the way back 10 years ago when I was tasting coffee. And I would ask so many questions to the people who were letting me taste at the importing company. And I always wanted to know, where was this from? Where was that from? And then I asked, which book do I buy? Like they will show me the maps that will tell me about the regions. I'd worked in wine a little bit when I was younger, and I knew there was a World Atlas of Wine, right? So I assumed there would be one for coffee. And so when they said there's no atlas, there's no book, I didn't believe them. I bought maybe 200 coffee books looking for the book that would tell me everything. And about 5 years ago, I gave up. I stopped waiting. And I was like, if no one will write this book, I'm going to write this book. So I started to write it, and 1 month later, by coincidence, a publishing company that published the World Atlas of Wine got in touch and said, hey, we're thinking about the World Atlas of Coffee, do you want to write it? And I think they were kind of surprised when I was like, yes, and I've already started, and I have 10,000 words done. And so it was kind of perfect timing. So really, for me, amazing that I got to work with that publisher. They do such great books, and to do the World Atlas of Coffee. But it was kind of a selfish book. I always wanted to own it. Like I always wanted to just have that on my shelf to grab and just check something, look something up, or read about a place as I drink a cup of coffee from there. So I started writing a blog in 2004, and at the time it was a way for me to connect with other people because I felt at that time very alone. I was really interested in coffee. There was no coffee culture in London. I didn't know anyone else really who was passionate about it, except for online. And so for me, the blog was a place to share what I was learning. And then in the process of writing about something, that's a great way to understand a thing. I can't explain something to you unless I understand it properly first. And so the purpose of the blog was twofold. One, to help me learn and channel my own understanding, but then two, to share. Because I benefited from people sharing so much. You know, like I was learning from people writing blogs, writing on forums, and I wanted to share back. And so that's always been the goal of the blog, a place for me to learn and share. And I guess that's Gym 7, and then the kind of other ones, I'm lucky that I have a little time and the ability to sort of work on strange little projects. And so the coffee jobs thing has come about because around the world, there's this kind of new career happening. And I think there's a lot of challenges for an industry that itself is very young and maybe struggles with career development and a lot of the challenges around hiring or kind of developing staff members. And I just kind of wanted to work on that project because I thought it was important. So I started the coffee job stuff that way. So I started Square Mile in 2008 with my business partner Annette. And at the time we probably seemed crazy because we set up a company designed to wholesale coffee to passionate cafes that really wanted to serve great coffee. And at that time in London there were two, and one of them was a roaster already, right? So we kind of created a business without any customers. But we felt that that was the opportunity, you know? And so we had to work really hard to help grow a community in London, and also to work with people that were passionate, to give them everything we could to help them succeed. So for us, it's been a hugely enjoyable process because we've got to be part of the kind of growth of this new thing in London. For a long time, there was two of us just working a lot of hours, and there was 3 and 4, and slowly we grew, and we moved space, and we got bigger, and one day I kind of felt like a grown-up, and it felt a little bit serious. And I think the team is now 18 people, and that makes me happy. Like I love that we've created 18 opportunities. I'm proud to work with the people I work with every day, but it's a little crazy sometimes. If I was to give advice to a barista who wants to compete in competition, the biggest piece of advice is your primary goal can't be winning. And that sounds strange, but you're not in charge of that goal, right? You can't control how good anyone else is, or how much they practice, or how hard they work. It's not sport that way. You can't outmaneuver somebody. There's no tactics that will help you win. So you can be the best you can be and still not win. So you need to have another goal, right? Something else you want to achieve through competing, be it self-development or something you want to say on stage or coffee you want to serve, that isn't about winning. And if you win, that's great. But if you don't, if you have another goal that you can still meet, you can have a very productive, satisfying experience competing, and you'll keep competing and keep learning and benefiting. So that's my biggest piece of advice to a barista competing. For someone who wants to open a shop, I think I would recommend a few different things. If you're a barista wanting to transition, understand that knowing how to make great coffee is very different from knowing how to run a business that sells great coffee. And investing in that understanding is so important. It's not exciting, it's not always fun, though I like it, but actually spending the time to understand financial modeling and all of that stuff behind a business, because the greatest lie coffee will tell you is that if you just serve great coffee, you'll have a successful business. And that's not true. You've got to work hard at having a great business that happens to sell great coffee. And that's any way you can learn, you should. You know what I mean? Like, take every opportunity to offer up, to take responsibility. Because most owners work too much, they'd love some help. So step up, offer, work hard, and take the opportunities that you need to. And then maybe spend a little time outside coffee if you can. You know that other industries have different solutions to the same problems, and you'll learn a ton seeing it through different eyes. And finally, taste everything. Like, pay attention to everything you taste. It's whether you're drinking a beer with friends, like just think a little bit about it, because getting better at tasting is so useful in the business of coffee. Whatever you want to do with it, whether one day you want to have a cafe, one day you want to roast, it doesn't matter. Being great and thoughtful about taste is so useful.